All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Two Fat Guys Talking Flowers, where we're always going to give you the good, the bad, the ugly about flowers. I'm Fern here with Ryan, Joelle, Mimi in the house. We got Mike right here, and our talented luminary, media hotshot guest is none other than Christina Yan, owner of Bellevue Floral Co.
Woo! Hi, guys.
Hi, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Fern, do those intros ever hurt you?
The intro never hurts me. It's that's why I close my eyes, just so I can get into the mode.
It looks painful when you do it.
Right before we get into Christina, I just have to share that we came back from Seed Your Future, from Coral Springs High School. And, we might have some new podcast listeners. So, I had Fern do the voice in front of the kids. They're all high schoolers, but when Fern did that intro, I got a quick pan of the room and all the kids were like smiling and laughing. They were like, they thought he was like, really, they were like,
the kids were having a blast. That was one of the most,
they were saying that
things.
he changed his voice for the scenarios that he's speaking in.
The one kid went as far as asking me, so you have two separate voices. He goes, is there any more? Is there any more voices or ferns out there?
Mm-hmm.
There's many more.
It was funny. So Christina, how's California treating you?
Oh my gosh, I feel so lucky to live out here every day of my life, truly. And I live out in wine country up in Napa, Sonoma.
Oh man.
And yeah, we're just lucky. We have, some beautiful product on the West Coast. We have our San Francisco flower market, but we also have great wholesalers like you all that provide all the way from Miami and have all these different resources. So I think in California, we're just lucky to have so many different connections. And yeah.
I got to go up there once. I went up there. I was with Rio Roses. I was with Raul Marrero, and we went to the San Francisco flower market. Mm-hmm. And he's like, Fern, we're going to have to wake up at the crack of dawn. We got to get there early. This is like an early thing. So we got to the market at around 6 a.m. And when we got there, everyone was like, oh yeah, it's dying down. Mm-hmm. It's almost dead. I was like, what?
Oh yeah. If I don't leave my house before 5 a.m., I get stuck in crazy traffic. So I try to leave, if I'm doing a lot of shopping by, say, 4:45 in the morning. And yeah, you've got to get there early if you want the good stuff. It's a little bit different because we have this really wonderful historic flower market in San Francisco where we have, dozens and dozens of different wholesalers and also small farmers all together in one warehouse. Mm-hmm. So the beauty of it is that you can go around and shop at every single stall. And if you have a client that needs a very specific terracotta color, you can go on a mission and hunt for that very specific color they want. And obviously this is something I do for larger events and weddings where I'm much more heavily involved, with specialty requests like that. But that's the cool thing about our market is that there's just a lot of diversity and a lot of offerings. And I think through doing floristry now in different states and through teaching my retreats mise en fleur and talking to other florists, I realized how lucky we are on the West Coast in the Bay Area.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a beautiful flower market. Lots of activity. Lots of activity.
I wish we had something like that here. Mm-hmm. Never happened, but too bad.
Miami should have a flower market. There's just way too many people that need that.
It'd be better for everybody.
The
not
real
just the
estate's too
customers.
expensive and nobody wants to do it. We've tried.
Yeah. But even, everything, when you look at it, the shipping, everything, it'd be so uniform and so much better for everybody.
Just the experience, though, like what Christina's talking about, like waking up in the morning with your coffee and like going down the different wholesalers. It's so fun to do that.
That might be fun in San Francisco, but that's not fun on the East Coast.
No, because
especially in winter.
Like it's not the same as the New York flower market. It's not the same. Yeah, I know.
It's a little cold out there.
Yeah, it gets pretty chilly. It's like 50 degrees out. And I do try to romanticize it a little bit. It's like, obviously, when you're actually at the market, you're running around like crazy. And the funny thing is that we have such a cool community there. You're always bumping into florists that you know, you make friends with your wholesalers. It really feels like a family.
Yeah.
But we're also there for business. So it's like, you go there, you have a massive shopping list. You got to make sure you get everything that's on your list, fit it all in your car, logistically plan ahead with how to fit the hard goods and the fresh flowers and all that. And then you get sidetracked in all these, conversations when you see, your favorite people at the market. So it ends up getting quite stressful. Actually, you're trying to hustle and get it all done within a couple of hours, get back to your shop for another full 8+ hour day of processing and giving directions to your team. So it's like, it sounds so lovely and romanticized. The reality of it is that it's quite stressful. But one thing I always do though is I do take my time in the mornings. And if I'm going to get up early, I'll stop. I'll get myself a coffee in Marin on the way over. Being up in wine country, I actually drive over the Golden Gate Bridge every time I go to the market.
Nice.
So that glamorizes the experience for me, and I, at least, have a peaceful drive in the morning in that sense.
Yeah, there's no traffic at that time, I'll tell you that. We would love to hear where you came from. How'd you get started? I know you were on HBO's Full Bloom. You own your own floral shop. But tell us, go back all the way to the beginning. Tell us how you got started in the industry.
Okay, back to the start of time. So, I have always been, and I get asked this question often. I think it's really important to also know how to tell your story. It's such a big part of your brand and why, clients may eventually come to choose you as their florist, when they are seeking out, designers. So for me, I've always been an artist. I dabbled in every single medium under the sun. Never once thought of flowers actually as an art medium. But I grew up, I was born and raised in the city of San Francisco. And I was very lucky in the sense that my parents always wanted us to appreciate the outdoors. My dad loved nature. We were always camping and hiking on the weekends and getting out of the city, and we're very exposed to that kind of lifestyle, which I think ingrained in me this love for plants and flowers. And along with that, I, studied art in school. I also studied entrepreneurship. And so all of that ties into what I do now. And when I was younger, constantly had some sort of artistic side hustle. It was, I made my own prom dress. I was sewing clothing. I had a jewelry business. I was doing, lifestyle photography in college for brands. I, constantly had something going on. I call it creative ADD sometimes. It might be real ADD, but it's certainly creative focused. But I always had just, a pocket of everything, kind of my hands in the pockets of everything is what I meant to say. But, so I was always a busy bee doing a million things. And after I graduated from UCSB, I ended up working, in more of a corporate type setting. I was in the corporate food service world working in higher education, and I was assigned to UC Berkeley at the time. So within that very niche world, I was basically overseeing marketing and event production within a food services setting in higher ed. Is that making sense?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
So I helped to build, develop restaurant concepts for the university and help them to brand their catering division. And within our catering team, we actually had a full-time florist, Cynthia. She's one of my dear friends to this day. And through her, I walked into this world of flowers. So she was our full-time florist. And she always used to kind of come to me more so just for the palettes and overall direction for any high-profile clients coming onto campus. And there was one day we were doing a really big event for the president's office. And she said, you know what? I'm super stressed out. Can you come with me and help me choose the flowers and colors to make sure that I don't miss the mark on this event? So I went with her. And my entire life growing up in the city, my mom would always go to the market because they have public hours. She would go there to buy leis, or if there was a special occasion, she might go pop by and grab some flowers, but I had never gone with her. And it was literally like walking in to Willy Wonka's world, 5 a.m., pitch black darkness. Cynthia takes me to the market, and you walk in and you just see mounds of flowers everywhere. I mean, if anyone is listening and you've never had the opportunity to go to a wholesale market, put it on your bucket list to do so, especially the one in San Francisco. It's actually moving in about a month, which is going to be a huge transition for us. But anyhow, to wrap up,
where's it
kind of where I started. So the funny thing is, since I started my career, they've been talking about this big move, and it's finally happening now. So some developers purchased the flower market property a number of years ago. So they're being moved. They're still going to be in San Francisco, but to a new underground warehouse, I believe. So there will be more details coming up on that soon. But we're all kind of on standby because supposedly they're moving right after Mother's Day weekend. We're also right in the thick of event season starting, so it'll be an interesting transition.
Oh man, that's crazy.
That's like not moving one company is scary. Moving 15, 20 companies at once.
That's crazy. Yeah, that's
I'm sure there are like 50 total vendors there. Yeah, it's
there was so much movement going on before to be able to like protect it because it is a historic landmark as well. Right? It's classified as historic.
It is. And it's so bittersweet. And I feel so lucky that I started my career at a time where I could still experience the old market, still experience the family, sense of community that we have there. So, I do think sadly some of the vendors won't be moving to the new market. They're going to kind of, split off or might retire, but I think a lot of our friends will still be in the new space. So, yeah, we'll see how that transition works out.
Well, good luck.
Good luck to everyone. That's crazy.
Yeah. So anyhow, sorry to wrap. I went on a long tangent there. But so I ended up, of course, discovering this beautiful world of flowers. And at the time, I was still pretty young. I was like a couple years out of college, but I was working so hard in this corporate setting and just quickly came to the realization that if I was going to work that hard and work, 12 hours a day and hustle and grind and commute and, drive up to work and be crying in my car because I was so stressed out, I would do that for my own business and not for someone else. So I kind of set my mind out at that point and I said, you know what, maybe flowers could be it for me. Maybe I ought to try pursuing that. So at that point, I put in, a month's notice at work, decided I would part ways. And then I was off on my own to figure out how to financially support myself as a young entrepreneur. And for a year, I didn't do just flowers because I had this really varied background. I was still doing food styling and photography, so I kind of leaned into my experience there. I was doing brand consulting for a few restaurants in San Francisco, and I was also doing flowers on the side. So kind of three things all at once. And I came to realize over the course of that first year that no one wanted to hire a florist that was also a photographer, that was also a graphic designer. They want to hire an expert in their industry. So I came to a point where all three of those little ventures I had going on were doing well, but I had to decide which life do you want to pursue? And so I chose flowers, of course. I realized if I had to live one dream life, it would be to be a florist. And I did that. I changed all of my branding, cut out, wrapped up my projects on, within the food side of things and started to pursue flowers more heavily and focus on that. So that's where I started.
But luckily you had all of that in your bag for your band or your brand. It's you had all that already, that knowledge on how to, make your brand stand out.
Yeah. And it totally, I think it has helped me. Every experience I've had in life has led up to this point, from being, doing the content creation and having just such a strong and relevant brand within the floral industry. That ties back to my experience way back with branding and my schooling. And even little things like when I used to do photography, having the eye for that now helps me with floristry in the sense that I look at designing with dimensionality very differently because I have this understanding that when you take a photo of an object that's 3D, you're now compressing it to 2D, So I always encouraged my students to build in a bit more dimension and think about shadows and highlights when they're designing and how that applies to when a photographer comes on site to a wedding and takes those photos. I think we can learn so much from many industries outside of floristry to then apply back to our design techniques.
Especially like photography, event design photography and stuff like that. When we get pictures, it's never like focused on the flowers. It's always focused on the scene, the
setting,
bride,
the room,
setting, whatever.
Right.
It's never like hyper. And if it is focused on the flowers, they missed like there's a bruised rose or something like that. That's like in the forefront.
It's so true.
Yeah, we see that a lot.
And that's why it's also so important. Yeah. That's why it's so important as well to be able to take your own content and take your own photos of your work. I think the majority of what I actually post on my social media tends to be just a really great iPhone photo that I take in my studio.
Yep.
So was that the beginning of Bellevue? Right after, this couple years after?
Yeah, so basically just a year. So I started doing flowers. 2016 is the year I started. And so I kind of did a few different things for just 1 year. And then by the next, I rebranded as Bellevue. I had the funniest name. So when I first quit my corporate job, I called it Cyan Collective. Cyan is a color.
Yeah.
It's also Yan, so it's my name. I actually don't like that color at all. But I thought, okay, it's like a collective of different artistic businesses. But I wasn't attached to it. And I was struggling to find a name that I felt connected to. And then I realized that the street I grew up on was so perfect. I grew up on Bellevue Avenue.
Nice.
Bellevue means beautiful view in French.
Uh-huh.
And it was just so fitting for a floral company. And I loved the tie-in with my childhood.
Yeah.
And in the first few years of my business, I operated out of a home studio in my parents' granny unit that no one was, my brothers weren't living down there anymore. So it just has a lot of personal connection and meaning for me in that sense.
Nice.
We have the perfect childhood street name for a flower shop.
What's that?
Our street name was Rose Street.
Wow. For real?
Man.
Oh, so
Did you buy the house?
Meant to be.
Did you buy the house and say, it's on Rose Street, I gotta have it?
It's meant to, that might have been a factor, right?
I think it was the only house we could afford in the area. But yeah.
But
Joel-
coincidentally on Rose Street.
Joel, what was your street name you grew up on?
7th Terrace.
And what was the name of your first pet?
Blue.
Blue Terrace. That's your
Blue Terrace.
that's your porn name.
We also had Debbie Gibson parked her
Oh.
Maserati in front of the house when she graduated high school around the corner.
Doesn't seem to be anyone
Fun
around.
fact about Rose Street.
Fun fact.
I love that about your Instagram page. I love that when you're just teaching and kind of so transparent and open about how you've gotten to where you've been and to get the followers that you've gotten. I think you shared one where you showed, this is my most liked post. And then you showed the insights, and I was like, wow, like not a lot of people who have that many followers would be giving that information out. But I thought that was very unique, and like it's really good because you're helping other people to see that eye that you have.
Yeah, totally. I am all about transparency, and especially in these last few years, now that I've kind of moved into this educational sector of business, I'm even, more so willing to share and empower younger and newer florists to kind of have a financial forward mindset. That's the most important thing to me, right? Because all of this is a business at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
And I always remind my students as well that as florists, like we're in this to make not just a little money, you want to make good money, and you want to have a business that's going to be sustainable. You don't want to have to grind and struggle and constantly worry if you're going to make it. So, sharing a lot of the analytics in my classes and on social media, I think just helps with that transparency. And it also, I think, just being open in general with my social media pages gives people a sense of comfort in feeling like they can talk to me like they're a friend. Mm-hmm. And if they come to my retreats, that what they see online is what they're going to see in person. So having that kind of connection on my page is important to me as a brand.
55,000 followers.
Mm-hmm.
I think I have 2,000 followers on my Instagram page. I am nowhere near consistent on my posting, maybe on my stories, but there's no rhyme or reason. I just post when I post.
I know that when I tag you on LinkedIn, we go up a lot. So,
right. Well, we just hit a milestone as a company. We just hit 30,000 followers organically.
Amazing.
Woohoo! Love that.
There you go. Good job, Joel.
Christina, tell us, all these followers, tell us if it's led to any opportunities. Being transparent on Instagram and putting yourself out there obviously has helped get you to these followers, but has there been any like opportunities that have come from Instagram or social media?
Yes. Oh, 100%. I'm pretty sure 95% of my clients come from Instagram or TikTok if it's not from a referral. That's where all my clients are finding me these days. And I've done a lot of content creation in the last couple of years now as well. All of that has been through social media and being able to build a strong and consistent following. And, you know, a big piece of it too is that it's not always about your follower count. Brands that are looking to hire me and even clients that are looking at my content are really trying to figure out how high your engagement levels are relative to your follower count. So, you know, in that same vein, a brand who wants to hire me to do a custom video, for example, for their makeup product. I have one of those videos I'm going to film later on today. They might see a florist that has 300,000 followers, but if they look at their engagement on the individual posts and see that it's not consistent or it's very low engagement, they will, they'd much rather hire someone who has 55,000 followers, but is getting, 1,000 likes on an average reel, for example.
Right.
Yeah, the reach is
so it's
better.
all about, what's relative.
The averages.
Yeah, exactly. And, you mentioned Full Bloom earlier. That was an opportunity that a lot of people might not know came to me through social media.
Yeah.
And this was back, I think I had maybe 2,000 followers, back at that time, but it's a great story to share. And I tell this at my retreats often too, because it's a reminder that, while it's great to have a lot of followers, at the end of the day, it's about how strong your story is on your page, right? Because you go back to, however many years ago this was, I had 2,000 followers. I think it was 2019. I get a DM from a talent scout, on Bellevue's page. And I thought it was a scam at first. I didn't really think it was real because I had heard about this Full Bloom show. There was all this buzz on the florist networks and the florist Facebook groups that were really active back then, and I thought to myself, I was like, gosh, it'd be so fun to watch that show. I can't wait to see what it's about. Next thing you know, I get a DM and they say, hey, Christina, we found you on Instagram. We would love it if we could interview you for Full Bloom. We really like your story. And back then, I was also really consistent with my posting. It didn't matter that I only had 2,000 followers. They were still my little community that I wanted to be able to share my life with. So I was posting every couple of days at least. Back then, there were no reels, so it was just photos. But I shared quite a bit about my life behind the scenes. And my mom was and still is a huge part of my business. So I was constantly sharing photos of my mom and I and talking about weddings we were going to. I was a very small scale business at that time, but it was because of that storytelling and that branding. And because they saw my face so consistently on my feed, that was attractive to these producers. And yeah, long story short, I get a DM one day and then within 2 weeks, I'm down in LA doing final interviews with their production team. And I end up on this television show. So yeah, it's just, you never know who's watching. You never know who might come across your story and be intrigued by it. And, that could lead to so many other opportunities down the road. I will say, I ended up being on that show quite briefly. And on that show, they didn't actually share your business name or tell anyone about where you were from. So I was like, I don't know if people will ever even find me on social media. So I think a lot of my growth since then has just been putting in the work to continue to build a strong foundation as a brand. And then there are a lot of tips and tricks within social media too that I've kind of figured out organically. You just have to really understand your following. You have to figure out what they want from you as a brand, and also how you're trying to market yourself. Obviously, because I do education now, a lot of my videos are educational content. You actually don't see a lot of the bread and butter of my business, all the weddings that I do, many of which are a bit more traditional and your usual white and blush weddings. I'm not filling my feed with that kind of content, because I'm not trying to necessarily reach those clients through my social media all the time. I kind of split it up. Some of it's wedding content, some of it's educational content, and some of it now is brand content, for businesses like Target and Starbucks and other big names that are hiring me to do custom videos for them.
I saw those Starbucks videos. Those were cool. Matching the flowers to the drinks and stuff like that.
I was looking.
Yeah, that's a super fun niche to get into.
I was looking on your Instagram and I kept stopping at Tulip's pictures. Tuli, her dog.
Tuli the dog.
Miss Tuli, yeah. Yeah, she is my greatest marketing tool.
It works. The dogs work, man. That's real. We see it too on our numbers. You put Sid in a video, just in the background, just running around. People notice that.
Who doesn't love a dog?
She's a huge part of my life, and I think she is a part of my identity truly as a dog mom, and people really resonate with that, especially in my stories. I'm constantly posting about just the chaos and hardship of being a husky mom. Oh, yeah. You all might relate with Jet and your shop.
Yeah, Jet speaks to us. He sometimes yells at us if we don't give him a treat or take him outside fast enough. It's amazing
hilarious.
How he communicates. I love it.
He's got two different Huskies, color eyes.
My dog's not even. Yeah, they're so stubborn, and it's like they drive you crazy, but they're so lovable. Yeah, all at the same time.
Yes, they are. Exactly. So you do corporate events. You do personal weddings and life, other events. Do you do like everyday floral as well?
So this is kind of interesting to talk about because I've, in my floristry, I've kind of tried it all, and now I'm almost going backwards. So I don't know if you guys know about my other brand, Camino. This is my lifestyle goods. So I have Bellevue Floral. I have a few different brands now. Bellevue Floral Co. is my main floristry business. That was my original business. In 2019, I opened up Camino. It is still a lifestyle goods shop, because people often would ask me about things I curate in my home and they loved my sense of style. So it initially started as an online retail store, kind of just for fun. And I wanted to see if I could turn it into passive income. In 2021, after the pandemic, I had an opportunity to move into a storefront. So I had to make this decision of, do I move Camino, the actual retail goods store, into a storefront, or do I move the Bellevue brand into a storefront and have a floral studio? At that time, Bellevue was only event-based floristry. And I decided, okay, well, let me kind of try this out for a couple of years and do a hybrid model. I'm going to move Camino into a physical storefront, and it'll be lifestyle goods with a floral element. So doing the retail floristry and almost treating Bellevue like a wholesaler to Camino, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. So I'd have this lifestyle goods shop, but I'd have a little pocket of fresh daily flowers supplied by Bellevue, which I actually owned. So financially, that just made the most sense. And everything would be floral kind of themed in my shop. I'd carry dried flowers. I'd carry a lot of vases, etc. So I've been in retail now. It'll be 3 years coming up in May.
Congratulations.
And this has been, thank you. It's been a true test of endurance and mental strength to have a physical storefront. It's wildly different than operating out of a home-based studio.
Do you ship? Do you ship out? Because I need that shirt. I need some of that shirts.
Amy's ordering an order right now.
Shirts or ships?
Shirts. That says pick flowers, not fights, and like a bunch of nice.
Oh, I will ship those. Oh, yes, yeah. Exactly.
That's awesome.
I can get those shipped out for sure.
What is a lifestyle goods store? I have no idea.
Yeah.
Pardon my ignorance.
Barbie knows, and you've been to them.
I'm sure I have. I carry the bags and use the credit card. That's what I'm there for.
I mean, I think lifestyle is just kind of an all-encompassing word. It's a fancier way to call it, you could call it a gift shop. You could call it
Right. Yeah.
a retail store. It's just it's a more elevated term for a gift shop.
It's branding for
I'll say that.
Love that.
It's basically
it's branding.
It's like curated items by her that speak to like the type of lifestyle.
Do you have some of your jewelry in the store, or are you no longer doing that?
God, I wish I could live a million lives and do all the things but no, I sell jewelry from small makers at my shop. So that's one thing we carry, but not my own jewelry. But yeah, it's just all different kinds of things, clothing, candles, home decor, dried flowers, things that fit into an overall lifestyle.
Right.
And the lifestyle I live that people often see on social media and are intrigued by. So it all kind of works because I have just this whole brand online now where I can tie it into my Instagram stories and tag a product in my home that I actually sell at my shop. But to answer your question, Mimi, about getting into retail floristry, so we did retail floristry for 3 years, and man, was it tough. Like I worked around the clock, to just kind of be able to make ends meet. Truly, retail is a tough business to be in. In my mind, I thought I could scale and it would turn into passive income, but it ended up turning into a whole separate full-time job on top of managing the weddings and events. Mm-hmm. And over those 3 years, I was able to streamline things quite a bit, but I'm actually going backwards now. I haven't announced this yet, but I am closing the retail store this year and moving back to a home-based operation, really mainly more so because that's just the lifestyle that I want for myself. I think for some florists, retail is it for them. Like they love the hustle and bustle. Mm-hmm. They love the small orders. They don't like the stress of dealing with brides who might be really picky or dealing with the moms and, having all these specialty custom requests come in. But I think that's where my passion lies, is being in the wedding and events world. And with retail, there was just far too much risk of constantly having to buy the product and hope that it would sell.
Yeah, forecasting.
And one big totally. And one big realization that I've come to have is that it's so important to understand how retail is going to fit into the local economy and the city that you live in. Right. Being in Napa Valley, everyone knows it's this big, beautiful destination, but the reality is that people are coming to taste wine. They're not coming to buy flowers to take home. Right. So it's, and the people that do live in Napa, we have a lot of retirees. We have a lot of people that just live here part-time and have second homes. And at the end of the day, we're also just a really small town. Napa's got like 70,000 people, I think, in it. And Napa is still one of the quote unquote bigger towns within wine country. We've got, Sonoma, Yountville, St. Helena, all very small towns, but it was really hard to sustain a retail business in that sense. And I had to make the financial decision of like, okay, do you try to still do this for a couple of years and struggle through it? Or do you just kind of revert backwards to your older lifestyle and live a more optimal life where you can enjoy floristry again? Mm. So I'm really actually quite excited for that decision. I'm still happy I pursued it, because if I hadn't, I would never have known. And I always would have dreamt of opening up a shop. And now that I'm doing education, I can teach so much of what I've learned to my students and maybe help steer them in the best direction for their situation.
And also you can have an amazing pop-up in one of the vineyards and invite Mimi to come over and have some wine.
Exactly.
Wait a second. I want some wine too.
Is there a Bellevue blend? Is there a wine that you get?
No, but that's a great idea. I've got to pitch that to someone out here. There are a couple flower themed wineries up this way. So
we need a jet fresh rosé.
Yeah.
I like that. What would be your favorite wine? Favorite brand, favorite style?
So I don't drink anymore, actually. I don't drink anymore, so I don't have a favorite wine.
She
which
lives
is ironic
in wine
because I live in
country and
Napa
doesn't
Valley.
drink. Yes. That's crazy.
I know, but you know what?
Probably
I
why.
came here for nature and the beauty, and I love to walk through the vineyards. But it's just not a part of my lifestyle anymore, and I really haven't missed it. But I will say we have some gorgeous properties that we get to deliver to. I mean, that's that has been the beauty of being in retail, is that you get these, like, you go to all these obscure houses with, that are gated and have beautiful, landscaping and gardens. And you see quite a lot of, just different land up here in Napa. It's beautiful.
Everything looks like a screensaver up there. It's like this photo could be my computer background. This one, you turn your head everywhere you look. It's beautiful.
That Microsoft screensaver that everyone knows was taken in Napa.
Oh, that makes sense.
The rolling green hills and the blue sky.
That
was taken.
Oh, that makes total sense.
And this guy, I think, oh yeah, he's made millions off that photo.
That's crazy.
So tell us a little bit, how did you get into education? I know you're doing Miss and Floor right now, but tell us a little bit what...
Mise en Floor.
Mise en Floor, I'm sorry. Mise en Floor. What brought you in to education?
Yeah, so I have always loved sharing. I think that it's always been very natural for me to be able to teach others. And I taught my first workshop early on, kind of just for fun, for friends in the local community, and really enjoyed that. And way back when I was first starting out, so I'm a self-taught florist, right? So back in the day, 2016, Reels didn't exist. People were still just posting really filtered photos on Instagram, if you remember,
the good old
back
days.
in that time. So yeah, and there weren't that many workshops out there really, and really they were, they were so far and few in between. So I would scour the internet. I used to go on YouTube. I would just watch like old 80s and 90s videos about making boutonnieres and corsages. And I would try to kind of adapt those techniques and apply it in other ways in floristry. And so I learned to design kind of just by trying to copy photos I would find on the internet or copy videos online. So over time, I came to realize, like, gosh, I could provide so much of a resource to students out there to be able to teach them how I learned over time. And so I had this vision in my mind that I would love to do a little workshop. I'd already moved up to Napa, so I was in, a really beautiful setting. And I wanted there to be more to it as well than just hands-on learning, with vase design, for example. So I thought, why don't I develop a business 101 course? It teaches students from A to Z how I started my business, teaches about all the different revenue streams you can have within floristry, and really can be a foundation that they use to then figure out which path they take. And so I developed this course. I did a PowerPoint presentation and I've fine-tuned it over the years. I decided I wanted to have a business element. I wanted to teach a little bit about marketing and social media. And I also wanted this element of community building, which is so important in our industry, to have floral friends, right, to lean into and to look to advice for. So I knew I wanted to have this retreat, and it was just this little vision in my head. And for me, I guess I'm kind of just someone who's quite ambitious. And if I have an idea pop into my mind, I'm going to pursue it one way or another. So yeah, I set out to find a venue, and sought out some sponsors. That was, really wonderful to have Accent Decor, who I know is, a great partner for you all as well, to come on board with our very first retreat. They were all in to support how they could and to provide vases and vessels and marketing support as well. And the minute it dropped on social media, everyone, was just so excited about it. We had 30-something students the first year come out to that Mise en Floor. It was a 3-day event. And I also leaned in to bring in some of my florist friends who were well known in the industry to kind of support, of course, and help to pull off the event, but also to garner some more interest and buzz around it.
Yeah, that helps make it more exciting for the people coming in. It helps, drive the buzz.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So we had Ace, Connor, and Kristen come out that year, and it was so fun for us, as it was really just a little reunion and almost like a retreat for ourselves as well, to be together that whole week prepping for it.
But those are also 3 really fun people to hang out with.
Ace is like my brother from another mother. We speak the same language.
They're clones. They're too similar. It's weird. Like, it's just like a slight darker skin tone. But
it was kind of like in the movie.
So
it was kind of like in the movie Step Brothers.
Yeah, a little bit.
Where did we just become best friends?
Yeah, it was made in a lab or something.
That's hilarious. Yeah, Ace and I are going to swap this year. Actually, he's flying out to help me with a big wedding, and then I'm going to fly out and help him with another one later this year. So we're super pumped about that. And he just brings in all the best energy. I love him.
Yeah.
So how many years have you been doing mise en fleur?
Yes.
Did I butcher it again?
No, it's getting better.
No, you're on it. It's mise en fleur. I have been doing it since time. It's just been such a blur lately. It's such a time warp. In 2022 was the first one. Mm-hmm. So this will be our third year. Is that correct? Mm-hmm. Second or third year?
Yeah, 22, 23,
The 2 full years, this will be the third.
There you go.
It's those COVID years. Those COVID years throw everything off.
Can you walk us through a day?
Everything off.
Can you walk us through a day of the event? Like what happens from the beginning to the end?
Of mise en fleur? Yeah, absolutely. So with mise en fleur, I initially had started out as a 3-day retreat, and I realized how intense that was. Like 3 full days of learning and being around a ton of folks and just the nonstop talking and the planning, all of it was just a lot to pull off. So I've now condensed most mise en fleur retreats to a 2-day retreat. Some of these are on site where you stay, on site at a cottage or property with me. And then you can also purchase a daytime only ticket where you just come for the learning portion. But usually the day starts off with like a breakfast spread. Everyone gets to know each other, and we sit down for a business class. So my 2 main courses are the Business 101 and the Marketing 101 course. I teach one of those, and that's just open conversation for about an hour and a half while I go through my presentation. And honestly, my favorite parts of the retreats are these sit-down classes because they're so intimate. We usually have anywhere from like 10 to 20 students sitting down for these. So you really get to dive in deep and ask me all the questions. It's a great resource. After that, we'll usually sit down for a group lunch that we have catered. And I'll typically deck out the table ahead of time with some accent decor product and flowers. And then we move into our design class from there. So every day has a different focus. One day we might focus on bridal bouquet design. Another day it might be about installation. We might also do elevated centerpieces, for example, as well, like we did recently at Accent Decor. And then followed by that design class, you always have headshots as well. We have a professional photographer usually come in for that, and just kind of open networking and mingling afterwards. So it is really a jam-packed day of learning. But the best part of it too is that students really walk away feeling like they have a new flower family. Right. And I still stay very connected to quite a number of them. And I hear that they keep in touch. They always have group chats going on. I've seen some of the mise en fleur attendees go and freelance for other attendees and even fly across the country for one another to support each other and to learn from each other's businesses as well.
Is there an ideal skill level or student type that you have for that class, or is it kind of open to anybody?
It is totally wide open, and I've had such a range of students come out to attend. So, of course, we have younger florists who are just kind of starting out with their business and wanting to potentially pursue this full time. I've had some florists come out who have all the experience and really just want to do something for fun and to expand their network and to take their mind off of running the business for once and just to come out and learn and experience with others. And then you kind of have your non-florists that come out. Like I've had event planners come out. I've had quite a number. I think this is really interesting. Every year I get a handful of nurses that come out to these mise en fleur retreats. And I thought that was really interesting, especially after the pandemic and kind of recognizing that people on the working lines in that workforce need some sort of relief in their lives, and flowers are it for them. So that's been really interesting to kind of see that pattern.
That's really cool. I like nurses. I went on a run of dating nurses for a while.
We always come back to Fern's dates.
Sorry. No, but I think that's really cool. It's a good range of people, and just having people, randomly out of the industry jumping in and taking a look, whether it's a future endeavor for them or it's just something that they're passionate about. That's awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I'm curious.
Yeah, and thank you all for supporting and providing all the product for our Atlanta retreat too. that was amazing to be able to play with those beautiful blue roses that you all sent. We did this installation, and I was working with Casey and Mimi and all of y'all for the order. And, you know, a lot of those students had never seen roses colored in that way before. I hadn't even seen roses dyed in that way.
That's just the beginning.
Oh, what I gotta hear you now. What do you think about using subtly, but using color enhanced roses to get these events to another level? What do you think about them?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's such a conversation starter. And what I like about it too is that there is this element of being able to customize certain colors through Jet Fresh, correct? Which is
Any
amazing
color you
because
want. Yeah. Even not even like even like more natural tones too. Yeah, any color.
right, because we are constantly getting requests from clients and brides who want very, very specific colors. And the funny thing is, half the time when brides send me these colors, I have to remind them, like, okay, that probably had a photo filter on it, and it's not the real life color of what, you know, a quicksand rose looks like in real life. It's going to be much more, you know, muted. Or they might send me like a terracotta dahlia that in real life is a bright orange.
Right.
But clients still want to attain that color in one way or another. So to be able to do that through Jet Fresh is a game changer, I think.
They could Pantone match swatch colors.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah. And they look so natural in person too. The ones that are more naturally toned, once you open them up, they just look like a beautiful garden rose that somehow naturally, you know, grew in that shade, which is very cool. The ones that are really funky and have the bright, vivid colors and the paint splatter and the glitter, those I think work really well in corporate branding settings. Like if you had a brand
nice.
That was more splashy, I think that could totally make an installation come to life.
Yeah, we agree. We see a need for everything. Everybody's got a style and a taste, and that you can apply to anything with all of it.
Someone needs to pass Christina the basket. Good Lord. Thank you for that. That was beautiful to hear.
Hippie spokesperson.
I love it. Her and Tuli.
It works out because she's in California.
I was going to say,
vibe fits right in. If she smokes weed, she's in.
So you've talked about a lot of really cool, good, and awesome stuff. But what about some of the bad of what you do or what you faced as you were growing your business?
Yeah, I think that is a great question to ask. And, you know, obviously, like I said before, it's a beautiful life to live, to work in flowers, but it's certainly not as glamorous as most people think it is. I think one of the hardest things is just managing the stress of growing a business, right? The financial side of things is always going to be the most overwhelming. And I struggle. I know a lot of other florists too, because we are creative people. The first thing that goes to the back burner is the bookkeeping, the financial upkeep, the paperwork, etc. Those are the most important things also, though, to keep a business running. So it's this constant battle and stress that we have to deal with. And it's a lot of anxiety that comes with that. And, you know, as you grow, your jobs also become bigger and the clients have larger expectations. And it's a huge responsibility and weight on your shoulders mentally to be able to carry your business forward and make sure that like everything is organized from the top down and you're not going to drop the ball on anything, right? It's just, it's a pretty intense industry we work in, not to even mention the physical aspect of what we deal with. That's, you know,
gotta work.
It's a whole nother thing. Yeah. And it's like my body is so beat. And it's just, I've had, you know, conversations with myself about just what I want in life and whether or not I need an exit strategy from flowers. Like it's a very real thought that happens to me, you know, occurs to me all the time. And I do have an exit strategy. It's like, I don't plan to, you know, lift buckets and do all this crazy physical hard labor into my, you know, 40s and 50s and 60s. I've got to have some exit strategy. So I think it's important for florists to think about that as well. There are very, very few florists that actually like work into their retirement. I think most of those florists are shop florists that have been doing it for a very long time. But I think for me, it's just, expanding into education and doing more of the content creation with brands is where the direction I'm moving towards. And I'll always love doing weddings. But the goal is to not kind of break my body doing them for the rest of my life because it's rough.
Christina, I'm sorry, but I don't know if anyone ever told you this. There is no getting out of flowers alive.
Well, she's not going to. And once you've created such a big brand like that, I mean, just to have people come and pick your brain on something. So you're going to still sell the brand and have people working for you. Yeah.
Retirement is consulting. That is retirement.
Yeah,
There's no leaving the industry.
I'm not like, and it's like, I don't say this to deter anyone from pursuing a life in flowers. Like, obviously I love what I do and I'm super passionate about it. But I think too that everyone's floral journey is so different and you have to figure out like, what does it mean to live a life in flowers that's optimal for the lifestyle that you want. And again, some people want the hustle of the retail orders and doing the daily deliveries and they like the routine of having the day to day. For me, I just love having the flexibility to take on larger weddings when I want them and when they fit into my design style. I'm lucky enough to have built the business over time now where I can be a bit more selective on the jobs that I take on. And I can focus now again, like I said, on the education and doing the content work. So I don't have to rely solely on constantly trying to, make a bid for every single job that comes in for wedding work.
Right. Do you only do jobs local to you or do you go different states? And
mostly local. So back when I was a younger florist, I would travel all over the Bay Area for any job so I could pay the bills. That was so important. Like I really had to take every single job out there. And once I moved up to Napa Valley and got settled in up here and made my connections, now I can exclusively only take on weddings in my area. And if someone wants to hire me outside of my Napa Valley region, there's an extra travel charge that comes along with that.
Smart.
Nice. Smart.
How cutthroat and competitive is the Napa Valley wedding market?
I think the Bay Area is pretty competitive overall because there just are so many florists out here. Competitive not in the sense that like we're competitive, everyone's very, very friendly in our industry, but I think there are a lot of people price shop. That's just the nature of being in this business.
Sure.
But I will not lower my prices just to win a job. I'm so firm on that. And I also teach this in my classes and try to empower the younger and newer florists to charge accordingly. Because if you don't, you're going to spend your whole life trying to make ends meet and get burnt out. And then you won't really have a life in flowers at all after that. You're just going to quit and give up. So you have to be able to charge adequately to survive as a business. And I remind florists too that, you can and should be charging the prices that I'm charging as a seasoned florist. Like you shouldn't be lowering your prices just because you're new. You're still providing a service. You're still putting in the same amount of hours to produce a wedding that I would. So don't cut yourself short, That's always been important to me. And I have plenty of, clients ask all the time about, whether or not we can bring the price down on a proposal. And what I will do is I'll offer recommendations on adjusting like floral to greenery ratios or adjusting sizing or design style to get the overall costs down without actually giving them a discount, if that makes sense. So you can still bring the total cost of a proposal down, still make the exact same margins, and just be strategic about what you're offering the client and what flowers you use. You don't need to take the cut as the business owner to appease your clients in
That's
that way.
That's a good tip.
So
that is a great education right there. Exactly. Look at that. So what do you find more rewarding? When you do an event and you blow your customer's mind away, or when you teach somebody and you see them blossom and take everything that you've taught them and really apply it? Hard questions.
Yeah.
That's tough to choose. I mean, I think I truly have found my passion with teaching and sharing. And I follow all my students from Mise en Fleur on social media and seeing them grow on there is great. Seeing them honestly just post more on social media and share about their lives is so rewarding to see, and inspires me right back just to know that like I had that impact on them in the classes about marketing and being the face of your brand and having that confidence. So I do love that. And I love hearing from the students and being able to constantly engage with their posts as well.
Are you still getting to scratch your artistic itch because now you're doing a lot more educating than designing and stuff, or?
Yeah, for sure. So the weddings that I do take on, again, I have the opportunity to be a bit more selective. So those are always really fun for me. And my artistic itch gets scratched mainly from doing all this brand content. So that's been a very specific niche that I got into that I've grown quite a bit more, and it's become a whole separate revenue stream, which is exciting. And I think in a dream world, I'll be doing way more of that in the future as well. The fun thing about these brand collabs is they pretty much give you a product, and then you have free reign to create whatever floral design you want to pair with their product. And most brands have been super easy to work with.
That's something you have to negotiate up front though, right? Or do they come with you with an idea, or they come with you, they just have the product and they know you want it, they just partner up with you? How do they work that out?
Yeah. So far if I had time, I would actually start pitching to brands. I haven't quite had that time while trying to manage everything else.
Who's the brand you would pitch first?
If there was a brand I could pitch to, oh, that's a good question. I'll have to think about that. A brand I have, I've been so lucky to work with so many cool brands already. I would have said Starbucks, but Starbucks happened this year.
Yeah. No, the way you said that made me think like you had like a list of like your hit list.
A hit list.
You're going to go after.
No. I just would start pitching in terms of just booking more, just to create more job opportunity for me. But no, all the brands come to me. So they just find me on social media. They will come and pursue me and send me a request. And they'll ask for my rates. I send over my media kit for them to review. And sometimes there are other florists in the running. They'll say, hey, we're looking for a florist for this campaign. We've reached up to a few. Can you send us, your rates? And so at that point, kind of going backwards to the very initial start of our conversation where I said, what makes me stand out to clients and to brands? And it's because they'll go onto my feed and they'll see that there's this element of storytelling, but they'll also see higher engagement levels relative to my following count. So that's what the brands are looking at when they hire you.
That's a lot of work. So do you have an agent or do you have an assistant that helps you with all of that?
I don't.
Wow.
I wish I did. That
artistic ADD is serious.
Yeah, because the agencies are real now with social media. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, I would love to get into that. I think if I had the opportunity to work with an agency, it would make things a lot easier. Right now, I just kind of handle all the brand deals one-on-one. The cool thing too, this is new, I would say in the last year or so, this has become a new type of content. It's called UGC, content creation. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure if you guys have heard of that or familiar.
User generated.
But a lot of the brands that hire me actually end up taking my videos and posting them on their own feed. Mm-hmm. So you won't even really see it on mine. Some have specific contracts where you actually can't post the original video on your own feed. So that's also another sector of content creation that really any florist can get into. It doesn't matter what brand you are. It just matters that you make good videos.
I'm going to become Mike's agent and get him as an influencer.
What brand would you want? What brand would you want to market for now that you're a 30,000 follower influencer? Coffee, maybe? Coffee brand?
Oh, man, I haven't given that any thought. No idea.
Okay, never mind.
What did you
Fern,
do?
what about you?
What
brand you want?
Louis Vuitton.
Louis
What?
Vuitton.
Yeah,
Fern.
I see it.
Yeah, whoever sends you free product, that would be the best.
Yeah, right.
Damn right. I'll work for merchandise.
Interesting choice. Joelle, you got an opinion?
Nike.
Yeah.
What about you, Mimi?
No, I don't know. I'm not that sold on brands, though. I mean, as far as like, maybe like Anthropologie, if they told me, or something like, something.
Are you talking clothes?
Or anything.
Any brand.
Oh,
Shop
yeah.
in Walmart mostly.
Mike's gonna represent the big
You'd be a
W.
perfect
He can't do that
Hey, if
anymore.
they paid me, I would do it.
Yeah.
What about you, Ryan? What would be
I'm
yours?
trying to think of one. That's a hard
You've
decision.
infringed on a few trademarks.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
I've definitely broken a few laws that way. Yeah, it's hard to say. Some kind. I mean,
Disney,
no.
Marlboro.
A weed company would be funny. Nike's cool. I do Adidas as well. Hard to say.
Is there a national weed brand?
A national weed brand, like just one brand.
Yeah.
I don't think there's like one.
No, the biggest brand would probably be Jungle Boys, followed by Cookies, or Cookies followed by Jungle Boys, depending on how you look at it or what strains you like.
Oh, yeah. I would want to be like, for
Those are
food.
weed cookies?
Anything for food.
The
It's
name
a
of the
strand.
company. Yeah.
Oh, the company.
And they put out a bunch of different varieties of marijuana.
You're learning a lot about us, Christina. Sorry.
I am.
Christina, what did you do for Starbucks? Are you allowed to talk about that? Is there an NDA?
I signed a lot of papers. I can't remember half of what's in there. So
No one's listening.
No one's listening. You're good.
no, but I
Starbucks
can
CEO
certainly talk
listens.
about.
You're number one.
I can certainly talk about the video. So a lot of, I usually have brands reach out to me for very specific campaigns. And obviously with us moving into spring season, I've had a lot of spring floral themed campaigns. So Starbucks is getting ready to launch their lavender infused beverages, which if you guys haven't tried them, they're actually really good.
Mm-hmm.
I love anything lavender flavored. I know it's a little bit florally for people,
Yeah.
but, I
What's
love
your
it.
normal Starbucks
So
order?
they wanted my normal. I just like a good Americano with a splash of half and half. I'm
Oh
super
my God,
basic,
that's mine.
but it's got to be strong. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, go on.
Yeah. So, they had 2 new beverages that they were launching that they wanted me to design a floral arrangement for that would match that beverage. So it was super fun. We had a food stylist come out and actually do all the beverages, according to brand standards. That was really fun to watch and be a part of. And the flowers I selected from the flower market to pair with the beverages. And they actually did all the editing on that video.
Nice.
So that was one unique one where I did all of the content, shared all the raw files, and they compiled it together. Whereas typically with other brands, I also do the editing as
Did
well.
they have to call you back to do anything like
Any reshoots?
or fix a storyline or something?
So that's what's been really interesting and that I have to communicate to these clients, where it's very different when you're working with perishable flowers, right? So with any client, if they suddenly say, oh gosh, can you just cut out that flower you used in the middle of the arrangement? I'm like, well, if you want me to do that, I have to go all the way back to the middle, take out those flowers and refilm the whole thing for you.
Right.
And filming these videos, it's a whole day production. And it's funny, like how many hours of work go into a 30-second video, right?
Right.
So, for the most part, most of my clients now, they have enough reference to my other videos that I've done on my feed that they have total confidence I can do what they hope to accomplish. And most edits then end up just being like voiceover edits or simple cuts.
Right.
But
Did you
Yeah,
like
does that answer the
filming for television? Did you like filming? Would you do it again? Like if you had another competition, or if it was a different light, maybe it would be like a different style.
that's, you know what, I would do television again. I don't know that I would do competition reality TV, because
Right.
those are 2 very different
Right.
things.
Right.
I definitely don't mind being, having conversations and being filmed. I think that's very natural and comfortable for me.
Uh-huh.
But I think having the storylines and the reality element of it thrown in was a different, experience. But hey, I'm super grateful for all the friendships that I made from Full Bloom, truly. I just saw Justin over in Atlanta. I got to hang out with him, and I stay in touch with Ace and Connor and Kristen. And there are so many good people that came out of that show.
Yeah.
Before we move on, I'm just curious. Like, do the companies like Starbucks, for example, like, would they have a say in what flowers you use? Like, would they?
Yeah, I mean,
Like, if you were to use
Yes.
a rose that was colored to the color of the, or no, because it's an artificial rose, would they be against that kind of stuff?
So clients will have very specific requests sometimes. Usually they care more so that the colors you're using are matching their product.
Right.
That's one piece of it. And I've had a few gigs now with like perfume companies or candle companies where they want you to match the specific scents in that product. So that's where I have to be very selective of what I find, or I come up with a creative way. Sometimes what's funny too is that a lot of floral scented items in retail goods don't always have real scents in real life. Does that make sense? Like,
yes.
Like things that are called calla lily. I don't think calla lilies have a scent at all, you know?
Right.
And a lot of the things that you see in these retail goods also aren't cut flowers. So for example, I just did a video for Bath and Body Works, and it was for this purple wisteria candle. And I'm like, I can't get wisteria from the flower market. Luckily, I had a neighbor that was growing it, so I clipped some from their bush.
Did they know, or did you just borrow some?
Yeah, just climb the fence.
Just climb the fence and borrow a couple
No,
branches?
totally. Oh, I've been there before. I got caught foraging once. That was a really good story. It's awkward. I'll tell you.
All of a sudden, the neighbor gets a
Hold
nice
on.
little basket.
Hold on. Did you get caught foraging like by the cops, or was people like, "What are you doing on my property"?
By the property owner. So what happened was, it was in Napa, and I was taking Thule for a walk in my neighborhood, but we went pretty far out. And there was like a beautiful plum tree with like the darkest foliage I'd ever seen. So I was like, I'm going to come back and forage that later. But I got super busy with work. So by the time I came back, it was like 7 or 8 o'clock at night. It was definitely past dusk. But I was out there anyway, and I pulled over and I started clipping down the branches. And lo and behold, the owner is just on her way back from a bike ride. So she's, halts her bike immediately. And she's like, "Can I help you?" And I realized she was the owner. But it was totally fine in the end. She was really sweet. She came out with her big pruners and helped me chop some branches down. She was great. And then I went back and I delivered flowers to her the next week. So it was all good, but kind of awkwardness.
That works. That first few seconds of awkwardness must have been funny.
Scary.
Oh yeah, totally.
People are crazy. You never know. They're going to shoot you over your prune tree.
Right.
Awesome. So Ryan's going to ask you some really quick rapid fire questions. First thing that comes to mind is, there's no right or wrong answer. It's just whatever comes to your mind.
Sounds good.
All right.
I'm going to write them down. Hold
Cool.
on.
What is at the moment your favorite flower?
Snake allium.
Nice.
Oh, love that.
What is the best sandwich?
I am not a sandwich girl. I don't like sandwiches.
Okay. There you go. None of them. What is the
Side
most
note, hold on,
overrated
I gotta stop
flower?
you. I gotta stop
You're gonna
you.
ask it?
No, I'm not gonna ask it. I'm not gonna ask it. I'm
Okay.
just gonna put it out there that, while we were doing the Seed Your Future at the high school and educating, to the kids on the industry,
Have that on video too.
Mimi had the great idea to ask the children about,
Is a hot dog a sandwich?
and
The debate is retired,
I-
guys.
not
did
only
say
is
it
the
was.
debate, she did say it was retired. There was all this prerequisite to it, but she asked, I didn't get one hand. I was the only person in the room.
I have it on
with their
video. It's
hand up.
pretty funny.
Nobody thinks.
No. Then there was some conversation
For the
afterwards.
first
They were like,
100
wait a second.
episodes, Christina, we had a debate with anybody that came on. Is a hot dog a sandwich? And we retired the debate. So
I got murdered
We
at
have a
Coral
tombstone.
Springs
So
Is
High
it a
School.
sandwich?
No,
we
according
agree now.
to our survey, it's not a sandwich. And also, Fernando, you owe me a lunch.
I do owe you lunch. Don't worry, that's coming. But continue, Ryan. Sorry.
Sorry. Okay. What is the most overrated flower?
Lily of the Valley.
What is the most underrated flower?
Oh, underrated. These are really good questions. I wish I had more time to think about.
That's we want.
Most
you would have a
underrated.
completely different answer if you sat and thought about these answers. Which
I know. Okay, sorry. I'm going to be quick. I'm not going to say carnation because everyone says carnations.
Everyone
They are
says
underrated.
carnation,
I
yeah.
won't say that. The most underrated flower currently for me is just a good basic lisianthus that'll last you forever.
Love it.
Oh, yeah.
What is your go-to way to relax?
Going for a walk with my dog.
Nice. If you could have one superpower, what would it be?
Ooh, one superpower. I would be able to, I want to think more about this one too.
It's a good one. You can get
If
back
I had
to
a
us.
superpower, it would just be to be able to teleport myself and all of my flowers
Yep. What is the scariest animal?
in the world. Black bear. Oh no, grizzly bears are more feisty, I think.
Grizzly. Okay, so she doesn't have a drunk food, but what about a late night snack? What's your go-to late night snack or drunk food or whatever? Just the easy meal that you love that you can't live without.
The easy meal. My late night snack would be, have you guys ever had Trader Joe's chocolate lava cake?
Shoosh, now I have to go buy
you
it.
have to get this.
I'm going to TJ's
You have to
today.
go
I
now.
can't
So
have that.
it's
Said all the right
they're
words.
two in a pack. They're frozen. I keep them in my freezer, and you just microwave them for 60 seconds, and it's like the most moist.
Mike's
juicy
shaking his head over
fudge lava
here.
cake.
Mike
And I
shaking-
have them for breakfast
Explain
sometimes too.
Mike's shaking his head because he'd eat them frozen. Frozen desserts for Mike is the way to go.
Let me tell you that Trader Joe's gets me during the holidays because they have these tiny little cones of pumpkin ice cream that they come in the cone and in the bottom of the cone, but they're so little, you know, and
a handful
oh my
of
God, everybody that knows me is like during that time, my refrigerator's just packed with them because they know that that's like my weakness.
Right, right.
Trader Joe's, darn you.
If there was a character, fictional, real, anybody, celebrity or TV, movie, anybody you could have lunch with, who would they be?
Anyone I could have lunch with. Mine is so specific. I was obsessed with Little House on the Prairie growing up. You guys read those books? So I'd have lunch with Laura Ingalls Wilder. I like to
Love
pretend
that.
that I could live her life sometimes. It's just like in my dream world, I think I would be living in that era of time in a much more simple life.
Interesting.
In my dream world, I'd be a 50s gangster, mobster,
Yeah,
bootlegger.
What kind of flowers do you want at your funeral?
Ooh, good question. A ton of color, crazy amount of just wild color everywhere. Lots of butterfly ranunculus, crazy giant allium, anthurium, all the good stuff.
There you go. And last one, can you suggest a future guest for the show?
Oh, future guest for the show. If you all have not talked to Kristen yet from Flower Pistol, you've got to get her on.
She
would be
hasn't been
amazing.
a guest yet, no. But she
No,
was.
friend.
She was our guest at our Fresh Fest.
She was the focal showcase designer for Fresh Fest.
Yeah. I love her so much. She's just so special to me. So I'll get her on next.
I agree.
There you go. We got to get her
Yeah, we
on.
got to get her on.
Christina, if someone wants to reach out to you, maybe for an event, maybe they want to join one of your education centers, Miss and Floor. I messed it up again. I'm getting better. I'll
Getting
figure
worse,
it out.
actually.
Miss and Floor? Oh, I give up. Okay.
Yeah. All right.
How can they reach out to you?
The best way is going to be through email. So if you go onto my website, there are all different types of contact forms you can enter depending on what you are wanting to reach me for.
Did you say where the URL?
Okay, so misonfleur.com is the website for our retreats and educational workshops. There's actually an email subscriber list that you can get onto. And then Bellevue Floral Co. is my main website.
There you go. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, this has been another episode of Two Fat Guys Talking Flowers, where we're always going to give you the good, the bad, the ugly about flowers. I'm Fern, Joelle, Ryan, Mimi, Mike, and our awesome, amazing guest, Christina Yan. Thank you so much. Thank you for listening.